Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Great Lakes Health Radio program on Power 96.5 FM, 1080 AM WUFO. I'm your host, Francesca Messiah from Kaleida Health, Manager, Workforce Development. I want to thank you so much for listening to our program. I want to thank you for stopping me in the community or even stopping me in the hospital at Buffalo General and telling me that you really enjoyed listening to the show. And one of the topics today, our first topic, we'll be discussing diabetes. Diabetes is probably one of the questions when I talk about what would you like to hear about. And I always hear diabetes. So that's why you're going to hear throughout the year conversation on diabetes, because there are a lot of diabetics. So our first topic is diabetes with Kelly Cardamone, first topic. And our second half hour, we're going to be discussing the 14th annual Passport to Wellness, sponsored by the Near East and West Side Task Force, which is also a part of Kaleida Health. And it's an opportunity for anyone age 16 and up to win, not to win, to receive a gift card of to Tops Market for $10 just for having conversations with people, with the vendors at the Broadway Market. So let me talk a little bit about Kaleida. Who is Kaleida Health? Kaleida Health, we're the hospitals, Buffalo General Medical Center, Gates Vascular Institute. We have labs. Our large laboratory facility is on Flint Road. We also have our general physician's practice at the Larkin Building. We have Glenn. Glenn is Great Lakes Integrated Network. We have Millard Fillmore Suburban, Oishei Children's Hospital, Visiting Nursing Association. We're also affiliated with Western New York Urology, Cancer Care of Western New York. We have long-term care facilities. We have High Point on Michigan, the corner of Michigan and High. And we also have DeGraff Medical Park, as well as DeGraff Skilled Nursing Facilities. So you can see we're large. We're over 12,000 employees. And we have medical, we will take care of your medical needs, your family, your loved ones, their medical needs, beginning with the first sign of breath to the last. So from pediatrics, children to adults, that's who Kaleida Health is. We're involved with speaking engagements as well as health fairs. We still do participate in wellness opportunities and job fairs. And job and health, we're now doing combining both of those events, because we know many times your health could be not as strong as you would like it to be, because your job isn't as strong as you would like it to be. So we have over 900 positions at Kaleida, and we want you to apply, and we want to hire you. Well, moving on with their show. So today's topic, diabetes, eating during the holidays. You know what? It's pretty generic because we have holidays throughout the year, but we're coming up upon our big holiday. That's Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year's, all of those holidays, birthdays, graduations in January, early graduations. Our guest is not a stranger to the show, Kelly Cardamone. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning. Good morning, Francesca. Thanks for having me.
Oh, Kelly, I'm so glad to have you on our program again, because Kelly is a rock star in the health in nutrition, clinical nutrition, and she really is our rock star. She has a master's degree, a registered dietitian degree. She has many degrees, and we're keeping our fingers crossed in the summer of 2025. She'll be Dr. Kelly Cardamone, right?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. All good thoughts. Everything goes smoothly.
Everything goes smoothly. And Kelly is a clinical nutrition and diabetes program manager. So Kelly, what is your background as a diabetes educator and the patient population? Do you see children or adults?
Sure. And just so everyone knows, if you're, struggling with diabetes or looking for support and help, All registered dietitians are trained to work with, people with diabetes to help with dietary and behavior changes. However, there's another certification, which is a certified diabetes care and education specialist, which I am, which I obtained approximately, 14 years ago. Actually, I've had that credential. And that just actually gives you a little extra training, knowledge, base, and some skills, which is a great thing to have, I'll say. So I've been working with patients with diabetes actually for about 25 years. Primarily, who do I see? Because we're dealing with adults, primarily we see a lot of more type 2 than type 1. And also more adult population is what I focus on, is my area of specialty.
Mm-hmm. And type 1, type 2, I know you just said you see more type 2, but could you just briefly discuss what's the difference between a type 1 and a type 2? And can type 2 diabetes turn into type 1 diabetes?
Great questions. The reason we see more, or I even in my with my team or in my group here at General Physician, we see more of the type 2 is because that's a majority of people with diabetes, right? So in the United States right now, about 11.6% of people have diabetes. So that's about 38 million, give or take. Unfortunately, about 8.7 of them are undiagnosed. But out of that, population of those with diabetes, 90 to 95% of them have type 2, and about 5 to 10% have type 1. And that's because type 1 is an autoimmune disease, basically prevents the body from producing insulin. And type 2 is what we call insulin resistance, but there's a lot of risk factors for that, inactivity, obesity, over the age of 45. So there's many other risk factors for that type 2, having a family history. So now you had asked, can type 2 turn into type 1? And that is a question we often get in our diabetes classes that we run. So unfortunately, a lot of people think that if they have type 2 and then now they're on insulin, that they've turned into type 1. So type 1, people with type 1 diabetes have to have insulin. Like, that is number one, they have to have that. Type 2, there's a variety of medications and oral injectables, insulin. And so people think when they have type 2 and they go on insulin, has it turned into type 1? And the answer is no. Type 2 cannot turn into type 1. You might be a patient with type 2 diabetes that is now insulin dependent or is on insulin, but it doesn't necessarily mean type 1. And the last thing I'll state on that, and I won't get too into it because I don't want to cause confusion, but there is something that's called LADA, which is latent autoimmune diabetes. So it's late onset autoimmune diabetes. So it's this late onset of a version of type 1, I'll call it. It is different because a lot of times it presents and looks like type 2 clinically, and then over the years, and it can be up to 6 years, it's an autoimmune, but they really thought it was type 2, so it was misdiagnosed. And then you find out through the years, things change, the A1C, glucose goes up, and then they get tested, and it actually is I'll say a form of type 1. You'll sometimes see it as type 1.5. So it is late onset type 1 diabetes. But the bottom line is no, type 2 does not turn into type 1.
Okay. Could you just say what? I've never heard of type 1.5. What is 1. It sounds like a dress size or something.
Yeah. Well, the interesting part is, and that's what it's called LADA. And again, it's that late onset autoimmune diabetes. See, most people with type 1 will be diagnosed, under the age of 30. That's why they call it juvenile. You'll see it. And type 2, we used to call it adult onset. We don't anymore because kids are now, presenting with type 2 diabetes. But it can happen. I've had patients there in their 50s, 60s, and they have this autoimmune form of diabetes. I won't get too much into it, but if you look at the literature, it really rides between type 1 and type 2, looking at some components of it. And you don't always need insulin with it either, or right away. So it's different. But the NIH will tell you that approximately 2 to 12% of people with type 2 actually have this LADA. So yeah, and there's the providers now, I think, are more in tune to it and are screening more for it as well.
Okay. And just for Kelly mentioned NIH, that's National Institute of Health, right?
Sorry, thank
Um,
you.
oh, you're welcome. Well, now for the meat and potatoes and the tofu part of the program. Holidays, holidays. What are some of the challenges, eating habits that for diabetics to possibly break, avoid? I was just trying to figure out the right words, so to sound motivating and not to sound negative. So, so what are some of the challenges of eating around this time of the year when everyone has all kinds of food they don't always have in their house, sometimes, and this includes alcohol, mixed drinks, gravy. I think because all of that is included when you eat, right?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Having diabetes does not mean that you cannot enjoy the holidays. And as you had mentioned earlier, there's always holidays, there's parties and occasions and all that throughout the year, and parties and birthdays.
Mhm.
It's just that when you have diabetes, and I will also throw in there, even people with pre-diabetes need to watch what they're eating, right? So we got a large amount of people, a population that have either one. You have to be cautious with those carbohydrates, right? Because carbohydrates, the foods like the cookies and the cakes and the mashed potatoes and the pumpkin pie and those kinds of things are those that raise your blood glucose. And that's your concern with diabetes. So the challenge for a lot of people is the amount that they're having. It's watching those portion sizes. You can still enjoy the holidays, but if you're going to have the pumpkin pie, have a small slice of it. It's being mindful. It's making sure when you eat, have your meal, you still have some protein, like you still maybe eat the turkey or the ham or things like that. You still have those vegetables available. That's, I think that's the most challenging. I think it's going to a party. Quite honestly, Francesca, I think part of it is when patients don't know what to do, meaning they don't have the tools of how to navigate food choices in general, it makes it more challenging at a party. And sometimes if you're going into a situation and you don't know what's going to be there, bring a dish, bring something that you feel comfortable eating. Focus on having the vegetables, the crudité platter and things like that. That's okay to have. If you're going to have the stuffing and the mashed potatoes, or you're going to have, like I said, the sweet treats and casseroles, it's keeping it to a small amount. My rule of thumb, I tell people, is to keep it to the size of your fist. The best thing is to plan ahead. Like I said, maybe find out what's going to be there, especially if you're going to a family member's house. The other thing is don't skip meals to save up for a feast. And that's the worst thing, meaning they don't eat all day and then you overindulge because you're so hungry right on top of it at one meal. And that spikes your blood glucose because you're going to be really hungry. You're going to overeat. Don't forget to check your blood sugar. And that's the other thing I find a lot of patients don't do is they try to avoid it. They're like, I don't want to test because I know it's going to be high. I said, but that's not the right approach. Try to, there's no bad food list or naughty list for that. It's all within moderation, but make sure you're aware, check your blood glucose. And again, treat it as each meal as kind of a new experience, and that, again, making mindful choices. You mentioned alcohol, which is, yeah, this time of year, we would say to you, I will say that not so much with diabetes, you don't have to avoid alcohol. Some of your medications, like blood pressure medications and things like that, or other meds, might limit the alcohol. But if you're going to have an alcoholic drink and have, and do a cheers, you want to avoid the sugary mixers like juice and soda. And you also want to make sure that you eat. And I would say that to anybody, right, going to a party. You don't want to have alcohol on an empty stomach. But it's, the eggnog, they do make lighter versions of eggnog if that's something you're having. And again, it's, if you're going to have something with pop, do diet soda versus regular pop, or light cranberry juice, things cut down on the sugar.
Yeah, and I know there's a beverage in the Latino community and the culture called
Yep.
cojito, and that has, oh my gosh, is it hemp milk cream? It's delicious, I have to admit. But I know that there are a lot of well, I guess what makes it delicious is probably the cream, the milk, and has rum. So I just have to say that's another drink that has a lot would have a lot of calories and carbs. So beverage can have carbs. And you mentioned pumpkin pie, and I know our listeners enjoy both pumpkin as well as sweet potato pie. But
Yep.
Kelly, because it's sweet potato pie made with sweet potatoes, does it make it any healthier?
No, meaning sweet potatoes and pumpkin are kind of thrown in the same, I'll say the same category. They're those starchy vegetables. They're both good for you, actually, really high in vitamin A and fiber. It's the sweetener that you use. So when you're doing things like that or making a pie like that, you can cut down on the sugar, but you also can use a sugar like substitute. So use like a Splenda if you want to, or a stevia, or however you're making it. You can, like I said, cut down on the sugar. And that's a great option. The only one that is not going to be in that category, when you get into like a pecan pie, if you're doing something along those lines, apple pies,
Cream pie.
yeah, cream pie. You just have to watch the sugar content. Again, have a small piece. Choose. I always tell people, you have a budget that you want to spend on your, on your calories. Choose it wisely. Don't choose things that you're like you have every day, or you know what I mean? You're like, oh, that's
Yes.
not something really enticing. Like spend your budget on things you really want to have and just have a smaller amount of it and enjoy it.
Right. And then also, because because I know that we are running out of time, but also, I just want to give a tip for our listeners. Sometimes you can, if you want, bring your own containers. I notice that a lot of times people are very generous, and they say, take this home, take some leftovers home, and they have gigantic containers. To be smart, you can also bring your own smaller container, and so you're just not filling it as large as you're not filling it as much as you would if you had a larger container. And I've been doing that. Yeah. Exercise. How about exercising during the holidays? Can that help with diabetes? I know exercise helps, but during the holidays with diabetes, does that
Yeah.
help at all?
Yeah, absolutely. And it helps for many reasons. Exercise, one, helps as a stress reliever. Holidays are great, right? But not for everybody. For some people, they're
Right.
extremely stressful. Helps with that. It actually can help to lower blood glucose. So, I recommend after a meal, go for a walk, or even prior, but exercise in general. When people get busy, this is the time they stop exercising.
Mhm.
But even doing 5-10 minutes, moving around your house, going outside, going to the mall and walking, you got some light weights at home, absolutely exercise. The other thing is that it can help with insulin sensitivity, which means the cells use the insulin a little bit better, and it helps to maintain your muscle mass. That's the stuff that burns calories. So you absolutely want to exercise, and it helps tremendously with diabetes and other things like cholesterol and so forth, and blood pressure. So it helps a lot, a lot.
Oh, thank you. And Kelly, I know you have clients to see, right? In a couple minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So we are going to stop right now, and I'm going to invite you back again soon. Maybe we can squeeze you in before the New Year's, and talk a little more about diabetes and upper GI, because I know that I'm being mindful of your time. My new word going into the new year, mindful. And I appreciate your being on the show, but I know you have clients to see in a couple of minutes. So I want to thank our first guest, and that's Kelly Cardamone, for being our guest today on the Great Lakes Health Radio program.
Well, thank you for having me, friend. It's always a pleasure.
Please enjoy this excerpt from a previous episode featuring Dr. Ashley Berdonis, Director of Obesity Medicine at the Kaleida Health Weight Management Center within Buffalo General Medical Center Gates Vascular Institute.
Yeah, so I'll preface this with the fact that I am dual board certified in family medicine and in obesity medicine. So this is definitely a topic that I enjoy learning about and teaching others about. So obesity has been long defined as having a BMI greater or equal to 30. The BMI is absolutely not an ideal representation of disease process, as it doesn't take into account fat mass in our bodies versus fat-free mass. But it's been used for decades because it's easily reproducible without requiring expensive equipment. And so far, it's the best we have. Our hopes are to develop something a little more specific that will give a better idea of disease process. And as we know, some patients or some athletes who have a lot of muscle mass may have a high BMI greater than 30 and not actually have a very high percentage of fat mass on their body. And so finding ways to discover a better way to define obesity is in our future. So basically, obesity is defined as the abnormal or excessive fat accumulation that presents a risk to our health. It's definitely become a hot topic in the healthcare community as we've been noticing a steady rise in obesity rates over the past years. And what's very concerning is that US projections are estimating that over half of the US population will have the disease of obesity by the year 2030. This is only 6 years away. It's definitely an epidemic. It needs to be addressed. And our bodies were just not meant for the way that we live now. Our bodies are traditionally made for being hunters and gatherers, active 12 hours a day, not for the more sedentary lifestyles that we live now. And so we're finding a difficult time processing the foods that we're eating and exercising enough to really burn the calories that we are taking in throughout the day.
That is excellent overview of obesity and 12 hours a day and hunter and gather. And that's just, we're not doing that anymore. But something you mentioned, and it ties into the next question. You said you are dual certified and you mentioned family medicine. So when it comes to family, obesity and genetics, is obesity genetic? Can it run in the family? Sometimes people will say, well, my mother was big boned. My father was, is there such a thing? Is it genetic? So is it something that can obesity run in families? Does it run in families?
Absolutely. So the easy answer is yes. It is a chronic disease that has genetic components. We've even uncovered some epigenetic components. So epigenetics is a study of the environment that we were born into. So the environment in which our mother lived in and while we were in her womb, essentially. So the stressors that your mother encountered while pregnant, the amount of sleep she got, whether she was smoking, whether she was drinking, that all influences us now as it imprinted on our genes. So there's research being conducted to identify specific genes that contribute to obesity. We've already found some that contribute to a slower metabolism. So the fact that one person can eat the exact same thing as another person and not gain weight or gain a lot more weight than the other person definitely has a genetic component because their metabolism has a genetic inheritance as well. So that's why you can look at family members and identify, oh, maybe I got such and such a side of the family's genetics or such and such, and that's really, we take that all into account when we're researching this. And the future of the genetic part of this is great because it'll allow for even more targeted treatment plans and medications that will be more specific to patients and will work better on some patients than others.
That's excellent. And I always have to talk about careers. And for anyone listening to this show who's interested in becoming a physician, a nurse, a physician assistant, you can just spend your entire career, which I think would be fascinating, researching genetics. You can just focus on genetics and obesity. If this is a career that you think that you might be interested in, this would be a career. And I just had to add that because I always like to talk about careers. Obesity and overweight. Is being obese and being overweight, is that the same thing?
So no. Well, technically one leads into the other, but overweight, we use the archaic definition of BMI again, overweight is defined as a BMI ranging from 25 to 30. and obesity is defined as a BMI equal or greater to 30. And that is just the traditional way of defining it. But essentially, being in the overweight category generally flows into the obesity category, especially if it's developed early on, such as in childhood or adolescence. We'll often see that if you had any inkling of being overweight, then as our metabolism slows, as we age, as our hormones shift and change, we tend to shift into the next category, which is obesity.
Yeah, and I know there's an listener too who wants to, and it's not a call-in show, but I know there's a listener too out there who wants to ask you, could you just define what is a BMI?
Yeah, so BMI, in an easy way of describing BMI is it's a mathematical calculation that takes into account your height and your weight. And you don't necessarily have to know the formula, but it comes up with a number that places you in a category based on your height and your weight. And so that will put you into either an underweight, a normal weight, an overweight, or an obese category. Like I said, it's not perfect. It doesn't take into account fat mass versus fat-free mass. I've had some patients who have a BMI of 33 and they have 7% body fat because they're a personal trainer, they're doing competitions. And so technically, according to the world, they are obese or they have the disease of obesity. But really, we know that with a fat mass of 7%, they are definitely not in the obese category. So again, not a perfect indication, but it takes into account your height and your weight, and it's often measured at all your doctor's office visits. So if you're interested in your BMI, you can just simply ask your doctor's office or look on your sheet, your progress report from your previous visit. You can also go online and just search BMI and input your information with your height and weight, and it will give you a calculation of that.
Okay, thank you. Does having extra weight on one's body place the internal organs in jeopardy?
Yes, so there's a certain type of fat that encapsulates the organs, and it's known as visceral fat. It is known also as toxic fat. It's actually the worst type of fat you can have in your body. Within our body fat, we have different categories of fat, and I won't delve too deep into that, but basically visceral fat, the one that wraps around your organs, is the worst. So it can affect the heart, and it increases the risk of heart disease, which can lead to stroke or a heart attack. It can also affect the blood vessels, where it can cause high blood pressure, which can damage blood vessels over time and increase the risk of heart attack and stroke. It can also affect the kidneys and the liver and lead to fatty liver disease, that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So a fatty liver caused by non-alcoholic causes is on the rise, actually. And it could also affect the gallbladder, leading to gallstones and inflammation. And we know that over time, inflammation in the body can lead to certain types of cancers. It can also affect the bones and joints. So the more weight you carry, the more pressure there is on your joints, which can cause arthritis over time and reduce activity levels, which in turn make it more difficult to exercise and to shed that weight. And then maybe one of the most important, well, they're all very important, but I would say the brain. The brain, fat accumulation in the brain can increase the risk of dementia, including Alzheimer's disease. And we're having a lot of discussions around dementia and Alzheimer's disease and how it comes about. And they're finding that fat deposits in the brain are really affecting that. We have these wonderful medications that come close to bariatric surgery results. So for instance, bariatric surgery gives you about a 20 to 30% weight loss, and the medications can give up to 20% weight loss without having to go under the knife. Of course, some patients will need bariatric surgery. We know this, and some people will use the medications, but the medications have come a long way. The medications also help in other ways as well. In terms of decreasing sugar, helping your cholesterol, helping your blood pressure, helping your thyroid disorder, and reducing certain types of cancers, which is pretty incredible.
And now on to part two. The topic for the second part of today, I know I mentioned it earlier in the hour, is the Passport to Wellness, our 14th annual Passport to Wellness, sponsored by the Near East and West Side Task Force. Many of you in the community know that I wear a few hats, and one of the hats is that I am Executive Director of the Near East and West Side Task Force, which has been supported by Kaleida Health for over 25 years. And I'm the but anyway, we'll get more into that once we start the program. 14th annual Passport to Wellness will be held at the Broadway Market on December 6th. And and how do you get a $10 gift card to Tops? This event is free, open to the public. Age 16 and up can participate. Some of our vendors, we have UB Community Participatory Research, which does research working with the community. The community is part of the research, and sometimes you get paid to participate. You can get up to $50 to participate in some of the research. They will be there. Need health insurance? We have Univera. We have Catholic Health, who will be there, I believe, doing blood pressure screenings, but Yvonne will let me know. We have 1199 SEIU Education Fund, Cancer Care Collaborative providing cancer screening, Osborne Association. They'll be providing information on how you can how families can connect with their loved ones while in prison via video, large screen television. We have Elderwood there talking about working with your loved one and in your house and getting paid for it. Buffalo prenatal and perinatal, talking about services for pregnant moms. Erie County Medical Center doing dental screenings. We have Erie County with a colon cancer screening kit. We have UB Educational Opportunity Center, and we may have Kaleida Health Employment answering questions on that. So I just wanted to give a brief overview about who will be at Passport to Wellness. And when you meet with everyone, we'll talk about that in the program. You will be able to receive a $10 gift card just for talking. So anyway, our guest for today, Sherry Curry, Kaleida Health Manager of Family Planning. Good morning, Sherry. How are you?
Good morning, Fran. Well, thank you.
Oh, great. Yvonne Askew, registered nurse from Catholic Health, faith nurse, and a board member of the Near East and West Side Task Force. Yvonne, did I get your title correct?
Yes, I'm over partially. Good morning, Fran. I'm over the Faith Community Nurse Program from Catholic Health, where I help churches set up health ministries.
Oh, thank you. And Jasmine Westbrook with 1199 SEIU Education Funds, also a member of the Near East and West Side Task Force board. Jasmine, did I get your title correct?
So I'm with 1199 SEIU, but I'm with the Healthcare Education Project.
Healthcare. So I forgot. Okay, Healthcare Education Project. I got part of it right. So all of our guests today have participated at some point, either actively with the Near East and West Side Task Force or with the Passport to Wellness program. And that's today. It's all about keeping you well in the in your homes and keeping our community healthy. So briefly, Yvonne.
Yeah.
Oh, and you know what? I want to thank. He's not a guest, but without him, this would not be possible. And that is Joe Lepsch. Joe is with Kaleida Health. He is our video photographer, producer. He produces many programs, and I just want to give a shout out to Joe, who makes all of these Zooms possible. Thank you, Joe. All right, briefly, what is the Near East and West Side Task Force, and when did it begin? Yvonne, question to you.
The Near East West Side Task Force is a group of community-based organizations and some health entities that get together, and we offer the community education. we get together to find out exactly what we all offer and what we do and some of the pitfalls that we might be finding in servicing the community. And we support each other in whatever activities that might be going on.
Yes.
And
yes.
go ahead.
No, and I just want to say that it began many years ago, for those of you who are old enough to remember, during the Joseph Christopher, back when Joseph Christopher was killing Black men in Buffalo, New York. It was a group of community leaders with people like Jan Peters, Judge McLeod, Frank Messiah, Andres Garcia, many people, men, women around the table, Reverend Reed, who said, this is before we use the term health disparities, health inequities. So the task force has been addressing populations in the Buffalo's west side Latino community and the east side, the African American community, for over 25 years. And this is all supported through Kaleida Health. So we have been on the forefront. Kaleida Health has been on the forefront with the Near East and West Side Task Force in the community for over 25 years. Sorry, Yvonne, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'm glad that you gave us some of that history. But you know, we as the organizations that are participating in Near East Side, West Side Task Force, we come together to see what is best and how we can support each other in helping the community and make a network so that we hope that people won't fall through and we can refer people back and forth, or like we're going to be doing with the Passport to Wellness, we're going to be coming out to the community, offering those services that we have and that we do every day, right directly to the community, so the community doesn't have to come to us or find us. And we go to the to this event every year. We're happy as Catholic Health, we're happy to help sponsor this event and to be a participant, because we know that sometimes people need that extra push to just to find out things about their health and to be more knowledgeable, so that when they do go back to their healthcare provider, they can be knowledgeable and can ask questions that can bolster, what they're going through.
Yes. And what is and please tell me the service that Catholic Health is providing this year, and why are you providing the service?
This year, Catholic Health is going to be providing diabetes education. And the reason why we're doing that this year, we find that a lot of individuals in the community who are diabetic really may have lapse in learning or may forget certain things that they might have been taught in their diabetic education classes, or might have been given some instrument that they really don't know how to really interpret what they're reading. So we're giving health education on diabetes just so that we can reinforce that knowledge and make sure that people know the signs and symptoms also of diabetes. Some people will walk around and not know that increased going to the bathroom or night sweats or swelling of the feet might be a precursor to them being diagnosed. Increased thirst, so they need to know that information so that they can go to the doctor with the questions that they need to ask to be tested.
Thank you. And Sherry, could you just say a little bit, what your department, Kaleida Health Family Planning, has participated in Passport to Wellness a good 14 years, but could you just say a little more detail on what is it and what services are you going to be providing this year?
Oh, yes, happy to. It's been a very nice collaborative between Passport to Wellness and our agency. It allows us and the community to have an opportunity to collaborate, discuss and talk about not only their health and their concerns and issues, but bring together outside organizations to fulfill those needs as far as information, as far as education, or in instances, as you stated, some people are there seeking employment, some people are there getting their blood pressure taken, some people are there having questions about their teenagers, their other loved ones, and themselves, because they're also seeking information about where do I go for to sign up for insurance? Where do I go to apply for positions? What do I need to do to deal with other issues that the Passport for Wellness allows that opportunity for the community to address or have those questions answered. So our agent primarily, our education primarily and prevention. Yes, we are family planning, but it's really reproductive health. And we're talking about all aspects for both men and women and adolescents as well. What are things we can do to prevent contracting or passing sexually transmitted infections and just being healthy? Like I said, overall health, we have our primary doctors for, and we find a lot of our patients don't have primary. And so that way, a place like Passport to Health, we can say, come here, because there'll be somebody there who can talk to you about insurance, maybe a facilitated enroller to get you signed up for something, or some other organization that can assist with that type of service. So we're there to educate the community. We're there to participate and do our share, because we know it takes a village to
Right. And I have to say, Sherry, one of the things that people definitely grab from your table are the free condoms.
Yeah, they do.
All ages. Again,
all ages.
HIV still lives, and that's why.
And not only HIV, but other sexually transmitted infections. Syphilis, chlamydia, and when we talk about young adults and adolescents, and now back to the older population.
Yeah.
It's a life duty and task that we're working on. So we're happy to be a part of this for 14 years and looking forward to continuing to participate.
And Jasmine, thank you, Sherry. And Jasmine, when this began 14 years ago, to be quite honest, you might have been in high school, but that's okay. We've all been to high school. So tell us, Jasmine, when is Passport to Wellness, and where is it? What I'm not sure if you're participating, but if you are participating, what types of information will you be sharing with the program? So we have Yvonne Askew, who's going to be sharing from Catholic Health diabetes information. We have Sherry from Kaleida Health, and again, you see Near East and West Side Task Force. Everybody works together. Sherry is going to be providing family planning information. So Jasmine, when is it? Passport to Wellness. Where is it? And what will you be providing? Your organization.
So that was my final year of high school. So that is that you say that.
That's okay. We believe in reach one, teach one.
But okay, again, my name is Jasmine Westbrook. I'm with the Healthcare Education Project. And so just a recap of the event, it'll be on Friday, December 6th. We're starting at 9 a.m. We'll be there until 1 p.m. or until the gift cards run out. And any individual 18 years or older, they will qualify to get one gift card. And as it was mentioned earlier, we just want to meet the community where they're already at. So as you're doing your grocery shopping at the Broadway Market, we're here to provide you with additional screening services and information. So at the Healthcare Education Project table, every month we have different health awareness education flyers that we distribute. So this month we had lung cancer awareness and diabetes awareness. Next month we will have HIV awareness information, and I will also have information on the Medicaid Equity Campaign, which is a 4-year statewide budget fight to increase the funding in New York State for Medicaid. And so this is our second year for that fight. I will have information on that so we can talk to community members and they understand why this is important, whether you are covered by Medicaid, you live in a neighborhood that is heavily covered by Medicaid, or if you go to facilities. And all of us are in one of those three categories, whether we know it or not. Whether it's the primary care you go to or the emergency care you may seek. With healthcare, we never know when a situation may come up. So we just want to make sure that we're prepared and make sure that our community is just overall healthier.
Oh, that's great. And I also want to say that I think you know what, if there are 4 members in your family, and normally it's around age 16, because we know that we have 16-year-olds that are supporting families. And so if there are 4 people in your family, each person would receive a gift card, but you have to talk to all of our providers who are not providers, all of our vendors who are part of the organization. We even have an organization I forgot, parent called Parent Network. And they'll have information if your child has any form of autism, or they have all types of family resources for you and your family. So you just have to have a brief conversation. And at Broadway Market, I know it's a pretty large building. It's at the end of the Broadway Market that's across from the meat section. So what happens during the event? So someone comes in, they're shopping at the meat counter. Like, what happens, Yvonne? Where does that person begin? Can they just start anywhere, or is there like a system?
There's a system to our madness, which is great because, we want to make sure that the individual gets the most out of all of the information that we offer. So they start at the registration table and they'll receive a sheet of paper with all the vendors' names on it and what they're offering. And they receive a bag for all the goodies that they're going to be collecting as they go through and all the information that they want to refer back to. And they get a little speech from those at the registration table telling them how it works. And how it works is you go around, it's no particular order. You go to whatever free one that you see at the beginning. But you have to go to all of the vendors and have some sort of conversation with them, pick up some information. And then on the sheet, you have the vendors sign their name. I don't know what we're going to do this year. Sometimes they sign, they put their initials, or it's a stamp that they use to let us know back at the registration table that they did come by and receive their information. And once they've completed that sheet of paper, they come back and they're not off the hook yet because we ask them questions. We ask them, well, what was the most, what was something that you found out that you never knew before?
Yes.
And the answers that we're getting is phenomenal. The answers and that people just didn't know this information. I had no idea this organization existed. I had no idea that I have this condition, but I didn't know that I could do this. I know how to cook, but I've got this new recipe that I'm dying to try. And the expressions on their face, it's just priceless. And then once they answer that question, turn in their sheets, we give them their gift card and we tell them to have a very Merry Christmas. We make sure that is, that's the case. So we have never had anybody come back to the table that didn't learn something, didn't experience something, or wasn't grateful for what we do and keep telling us to come back year after year after year.
Yes. And over the years, I shouldn't say that. I want to say over the years, before we even start, we have about 10 or 12 people who have been following us for 14 years. At Passport to Wellness, at the Broadway Market, the first Friday in December. And so and it's just wonderful to see the audience. Yvonne, how are vendors dressed? How would you describe? Is there a certain style?
Well, once we have, since in that season of love and that season of giving, that season of merriment, we kind of ask the vendors to dress up, in Christmas garb or in whatever, festive, so that the people have something to look at, have something to experience, that we're so happy to be here. We're happy to be in this place, to be able to supply you with this information, to be in your presence. And we're so grateful that you did stop. So, to make them feel that season of giving, that season of love, and that season of hope.
Yeah. So Sherry, I know when I'm there, I normally have, a matter of fact, I'm looking for another, my reindeer my antlers no longer light up.
Yes.
I know, because I always like to have something. So when I approach people at the meat counter to say, look for me, I'm the one with the head that lights up. How about you, Sherry? Do you dress up for this event? And Jasmine, this is your first event, so you can dress up fun and festive.
I know. I'm glad to know to dress up. I love to be festive.
Oh, good. Yay.
Yes, and yes, chiming into Yvonne, yes, it is a time to be festive. So yes, I do try to wear something festive. Everyone sells those ugly Christmas sweaters and that kind of thing, and or just other things that, like you said, glow or light up or have glitter all over it. So anything that's going to bring attention. I do wear a sweater to have like snowflakes on it because I love the snow.
Yeah. And our participants don't have to dress up, and we encourage you to dress up, but you can just go to one of the thrift stores or Goodwill and get a sweater. You don't have to go out and buy something new. So, gift cards. Why the significance of a gift card for food? Sherry or Yvonne or Jasmine? Any of you? It's a $10 gift card. Why do we give a gift card for food?
Well, we understand the economic times that we're in, and we understand that sometimes individuals, while they're at the Broadway Market trying to get their meal or their food for the next day or week or month, that they might not have the time to stop and just to talk with us. And we think that by offering that a gift card would make it more meaningful for them, to help them out at the end of the day, to make things stretch.
Yeah. And I have to say the flyer is ready. It's available. I have to give a special shout out to Jackie Bett from Kaleida Health Marketing, who has always designed the flyer and updated the flyer. Masks are encouraged. You don't have to wear a mask, but because it's winter and it's cold and flu and COVID is still out there, masks are encouraged, but you don't have to wear one. But we just encourage them. We have about 4 or 5 more minutes. Jasmine, I'm just going to ask everyone the same question. Why do you think people should attend this event? Jasmine, you're first.
Well, one is in a centralized location where you can get the groceries that you need at the Broadway Market. So why not stop and get additional resources that might benefit you, your family, or a loved one? And so it's not like it's taking you out of your way. It's something that we all have to do, which is grocery shop, just to provide for ourselves and our families.
Wonderful. Sherry, why do you feel people should come on out?
Like I said, it's a good outing. It's a good activity for families, for our seniors to receive the information that they may have been seeking for themselves or loved ones. Like you said, it's festive, it's fun. And, if you like that face-to-face interaction versus, press this button or you're the next caller in the queue, this gives you an opportunity to have that one-on-one, that interactive day to have questions addressed and just to interact with other people.
Yeah, and I have seen participants have easily a half-hour conversation with people, with the vendors, not with people, but with the vendors. So it is a time to relax. That's one of the things I like, is you can relax and ask your question. There is no, well, we end at 1 or when the 75 gift cards run out. However, you are able to relax and ask the Catholic Health about diabetes, or ask family planning if you think you may have a little itch or something going on. What's going on? How do I make an appointment? Or ask someone, about the education. What is the education fund? About the getting involved. Also, literature is available for you to take. Everybody has literature. Could be for that high school project, could be for that college project or that grammar school project. So think of it like that. And Yvonne, why do you think people should come on down?
Because you don't know what you don't know.
Yoo-hoo.
And
Yes.
you believe that you can. Yes, we have these computers in our hands every day that we can look up information, but sometimes it can be very confusing. So why not come out and get your questions answered and make sure that the information that you're receiving is the correct answer that you need?
Yes. Yes. And everyone, I want to thank our guests. I want to thank Sherry Curry with Kaleida Health Manager, Family Planning. I want to thank Yvonne with Catholic Health Systems, Faith Nurse, who is responsible, and also she is responsible for setting up Faith Nurse?
Yeah, health ministries within churches of any denomination. It does
Yes.
not have to be a Catholic organization, a Catholic denomination, any denomination, because it's the health of the participants that we are most want to help.
Thank you. And also a board member with Near East and West Side Task Force, and Jasmine, who when this first started, her last year in high school, but you see how active she now is in the community.
Yes.
1199 SEIU Health Education Funds and board member, Near East and West Side Task Force. So ladies, I want to thank you this morning for taking time from your schedule to be for this very important interview. Passport to Wellness, which is December 6th, beginning at 9:00. However, some vendors are there a little earlier. 999 Broadway, the Broadway Market, across from the meat section. Come and get your $10 gift card and meet and get and learn a little bit and share the information. So thank you. Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I just want to say, next week on this on the Great Lakes Health Radio program, you will hear my esteemed colleague, that is Cindy Bass from Erie County Medical Center, who I know is going to have an equally exciting educational topic. And in 2 weeks, God be willing, you will hear me, my voice, Francesca Messiah, the host from Kaleida Health, a manager of workforce development for Kaleida Health, as well as executive director for the Near East and West Side Task Force. See you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.